Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning into another success webinar. This week, we have the legend, Jeff, and he's here. He's been doing a lot of great things in various things, anything from mortgage to coaching real estate agents to really empowering everyone with videos. He is the regional and vice president for the USA Mortgage. And also he's been a co-founder to a lot of platforms. So it's really exciting to have you, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So Jeff, so tell us about this journey a little bit. Like you started like way back in like 20 years ago, right? So How was that experience? When did you get started? Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, well, I won't bore your audience with the long story, but yeah, I mean, I've been in the business 22 years, got mortgage in 2000, and it was about, so obviously I went through the wild west years, and then the crash, and then obviously the subsequent great years that followed the crash in the early 2010 arena, and then more recently the great years we just had a couple of years ago, and now we are trudging along in a difficult year of 2022. But I think the defining change or kind of point in my career where things really took a new direction was back in 2015, 16. We decided to switch companies. So we left. We had been at USA Mortgage since 2008. We left in 2016 because for a lot of reasons, I won't get into those, but we left because I was seeing where the world was going in terms of technology and marketing and that sort of thing. And we just didn't feel like we were going to have that support at USA. And so we left. And as a result of leaving, it was a terrible move and a great move all the same. And it was great because it forced me out of my comfort zone. It forced me to look to outside strategies to grow our business and be found and to differentiate. And it was right about that time when Facebook Live was becoming a thing. And there was a guy in our market who was doing these shows. He was a real estate agent and he was calling them coffee talks on Facebook Live. And he was really a pioneer. And I was just so happened to be in our market. I just so happened to get to know him. And I just kind of followed suit and I started doing video. And
man,
I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Seems like a foreign word to me now. It's like, what is it?
Yeah, exactly. But at the time it was it. And it was one of those things where I think we were all looking at it saying, what is this and how do we use it? And, he, like I said, he was kind of a pioneer and I started to just do video and one thing led to another. And I ended up as a result of doing video. And I learned how to do it better. And so I got introduced to a lot of people and I was kind of a student of the game. But I quickly realized that doing video as a form of marketing your business is really not the best way to market your business. In fact, it's fast forward to where we are today. Our industry, I tell this and I stand on stages all the time telling agents and mortgage and loan officers that we are the worst spamming industry on the planet. And because we lean into, we get into social and we say, well, I heard so-and-so speak about it. And I hear all these people telling me I need to be doing it. So I'm going to do it. But I hate social media. So I'm just going to do it for my business. But the reality is, if you truly understand how algorithms work and what audiences are attracted to, they didn't open up Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, because they were curious about the latest Fannie Mae update, or because they're curious about the local real estate statistics. We're interested in it, so we assume that our audience is interested in it, but it actually works against you. And so I've just become very passionate about it. I study it, and it has had a massive impact on our business. We've taken our mortgage business 5x over the last several years as a result of what I've done through video and social. And it's created all these different side businesses, which is actually where
perfect, man. I have like 5 questions from what you just said.
Okay, I'll stop.
And we gotta dive deep into each one of them, and I'm gonna write them down here. The first one is the crash and what happened in that drop market. Like what happened when there were no leads coming in, right?
Which crash? 2008?
Yeah, 2008. Like,
yeah, I mean,
because we're experiencing similar concepts here, right? So yeah, like less people and like a lot of realtors are cutting their marketing down. They're just shutting down all the channels, all those things, right? So yeah, so like I was guilty of that too. Like we had a similar crash in 2000. 12 here in Vancouver, and I was a top producing agent, I shut down all my marketing. And I was like, well, you know what? There's no point doing all these things. I would just tune down everything. And when the market heated up again, I was just missing out because, well, I didn't have any leads. Like everyone was working with someone else. So like, what was your experience of that? And how did you experience that transition?
Well, as most of your listeners probably know, 2008 was completely different than today. It was different because of obviously what led up to it, which is not what led up to today's issues, if you will. And so I think back then, looking back then, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I don't think anybody did. And frankly, marketing as it is today was not a fraction of what it is today. It was completely different, and the world has evolved insanely fast over the last 14 years. And so I will say that what I've learned over the course of not just 2008, but there's been several dips. It's a cycle. There's always cycles in our industry. And if you've been in the business a long time, you know this. It's like a roller coaster. And I think the one thing that I've learned that I now stand on a mountaintop and preach to everyone is it's these cycles that define the most successful people. And that's what I've learned. I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've done what a lot of my peers do during these cycles and these down cycles is most of the time, most of us retreat. We pull back, and we just kind of assess, and we're not really sure what to do. But what I encourage everyone now is, as you get into these cycles, there's way more opportunity now than there was in 2020, 2021. Because in 20 and 21, you just had to breathe to get business. It took no effort, right? And that cycle will happen again. But those that position themselves now to be prepared for when it turns will be the ones who will reap the largest rewards. And so for me, that means doubling and tripling down on everything that I've been doing, because two reasons. One, I have time. I'm not as busy now, maybe not me specifically, but speaking to agents and loan officers, you have more time. You're not as busy. You're not closing as many deals. And so you should be using that time to double and triple down on your marketing efforts, to embrace shooting video, to practice shooting video, to post more on social media, to embrace platforms like what Sam has, because this is your opportunity to come out of this. Because if you wait until we come out of this, A, you're going to get too busy and you're going to vacate again. And B, you're going to be climbing an uphill battle if you do make the time for it, because the people that are doing it now are going to be positioned to absolutely crush because they've already established themselves in their markets.
Yeah, and they've already created these relationships, right? Like I think there's a famous saying that we as agents, we don't create new needs, we just steal clients from other agents, right? So it's like you can't convince me to, hey Sam, let's go take a look at this townhouse and buy it if I'm not in the market to buy, but you can convince me to work with you instead of Jeff, for example, right? So, and that's the biggest thing, right? Creating these lasting relationships. So when the time comes, when I want to pull that trigger, I come to Jeff, I come to Sam, instead of all these other people that I could think about, instead of my cousin, instead of that newly licensed agent that just showed up and that just tells me, hey, I'm going to give you this much discount if you work with me, all these things, because that happens all the time, right? I think everyone has a cousin or a distant cousin that's a realtor. And that's the biggest thing. Like we are always competing, but we're always creating these branding messages, creating these connections on social media that help us form relationships and so on. So let's say I'm an agent today and I want to start. So let's say I've hired a company, whatever that company is, to do some parts of my social media. What are the things that I need to do on my own to create that personal message, to create that personal connection? And let's say if I had only one content to create per week, what would that content look like? Like if you had to paint a picture, if you had to like tell me like one or two content a week, like really powerful content, what would it be?
Well, I'm actually going to stop you right there and say that's not going to be good enough. And let me articulate what you said differently. Is that when you were talking about cousins and somebody has a distant cousin, et cetera, most agents know the statistics, and this comes from NAR, that, and I'm gonna summarize and just round up. Roughly 90% of homeowners say they would use their same real estate agent again, but only less than 13% actually do. And the reason why is because we
say that again. That's an interesting stat. So 90% say they do,
they will.
but only 13% will actually do it.
They actually use their agent again. And it's very easy to figure out why. It's because we suck at follow-up. And there's two reasons why we suck at it. One, we either don't follow up at all, or two, we're using those traditional CRMs, which are also spam. Because when you really think about what a CRM is a platform where now you close transaction, you put them into the follow-up system, and then you just start sending them these emails and text messages saying, hey, here's 10 tips to get your house ready for the holidays. Here's 10 tips to get your house ready to sell in the spring. Nobody cares about that. They didn't ask for that. They don't want that. And so most people opt out and then they forget about you. And here's why they don't use you. Because there's people like Jeff Pfitzer out there who now are hacking their algorithm, showing up on their social media feeds every single day, whether they're laying in bed, sitting in public transit, sitting on the toilet, wherever they are, I'm hacking them. They now build a relationship with me, which goes back to your question. What should you be posting about? So once a week's not good enough. And what we encourage and coach people is that you have to make this a muscle memory. You get into business and you prospect and you time block 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours every single day to prospect. Social media is prospecting. And what you have to do is you have to build that habit of just sharing your life, documenting, you don't have to create, just document your life. What are you doing every day? And share that, because now all of a sudden you're connecting with people on a personal level and you're creating content that resonates with them. And then, Sam, then you're sprinkling in that piece of business content once a week in between those other 5, 6, 7 posts, reminding your audience what you do for a living, because that's what you're doing. They're not going to engage with your business content because most people aren't interested in real estate like we are, but they are interested in your kids, your travels, your pets, your hobbies, all of that stuff. What you're eating for breakfast, they're more interested in what you're eating for breakfast than they are the local real estate stats.
Yeah. And I always say this, like, think of market updates as weather forecasts. Like, no one wants to know if it's going to be 22% hotter tomorrow. But I want to know, like, do I need a jacket? Is it going to be rainy? Do I need an umbrella? And that's all you need to say about the market update. You don't need to get into the details, like sales to active ratios, blah, blah, blah. We do that content, but we know it's just there to position you as a market expert. But the rest of it is, I want to get to know Sam, the person. I want to know how he got here. Why is he doing this? He used to be this other guy before. Now he's an agent. Why is he doing the certain things that he's doing right now? And I think this is the biggest thing that I see agents kind of miss out on. They're like, well, no one is interested in my kids. They are, like, they know you as a person, right? And I think you kind of nailed it in the head. Like they know you as that person. They want to know, what's your story? Why are you doing this? Is this your full-time gig? Is this your part-time gig? What are the rest of the things that they can learn from you? So that's awesome. That's awesome advice. So now, let's say I'm creating content. I'm doing a lot of stories about my personal day, but I want to create like one impactful reel. And that's what I do for mine. Like I do like one really, really great reel, and the rest of our stories and other things that I do. But like, how do I find what content it is that moves the needle for me?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so what we advise, and this is what I do, everything that I coach or teach is, I'm a practitioner of it myself. And so I wouldn't be sharing something if it wasn't already working for me. And it starts with identifying your content pillars. And so I've kind of established like 5 main pillars, and then I have sub pillars under each one. And I kind of use it as a cheat sheet. And so the way I kind of established my social strategy was, this is the stuff that defines who I am as a human being. What I'm doing every day, every week, every month, whatever I'm doing consistently. Some of it's business related, some of it's personal, some family, some hobbies, that sort of thing. And I'm just going to throw it all up against the wall and see what sticks, which then your audience basically tells you, based on what they engage most with, what you should be creating more of. So when it comes to creating good reels, I mean, it's going to depend on what your audience wants. And again, I think most of us lean real estate. And again, frankly, it's probably not going to grab a lot of attention. Yes, there are agents and loan officers that have gone viral and do very well with business content, but that is going to be a minute percentage of social media creators that actually can have an impact that way. Most of us are going to have a bigger impact with the things that make us who we are. And so what I always advise people, and this is what I did as well, is I was a consumer first. And so it was like, what is it that I gravitate towards? What creators am I watching consistently? What moves my needle to thumb stop and watch their post? And so, and I had about maybe a library of 5 to 10 people that were just consistently showing up. I was just being very intentional about it and saying, why is Gary Vee always on why is he always on my feed? Oh, because I'm always watching his stuff. And then there was obviously industry people. And so I always tell people, like, intentionally go find the people that you like to follow, and then formulate and emulate a plan for yourself based around what you like about those people, and then start to create your own content. And I will say this, Sam, something that has become incredibly important as it relates to video. 5, 6 years ago, I said, video is the future. 2 to 3 years ago, it's like, do video to differentiate. About a year ago, it was like, do video if you want to survive. Now it's like, it's not just do video, it's do video well. And so you either have to commit to hiring a full-time video editing team or videographers to follow you around, which isn't in most of our budgets, or you've got to learn some basic editing skills so that you can take that everyday content, and anybody can go follow me on Instagram, go look at my reels. I usually post 2 a day. One of them is very business related. It's usually around social tips, videos, strategies, social news. And then the other ones are usually authentic. This morning, I shared a video that I put together from an Eagles concert that I went to last week. I'm going to share a second one later. It's just me sharing lifestyle content. And it's just me saying, this is who I am as a human being. And so that's the thing is it's hard for people to understand and have that creative juice flow to what they should create. So they have to be a intentional consumer first. And I say intentional consumer, not the consumer that gets into TikTok or Instagram Reels and just goes down this rabbit hole of entertainment, which you will. You have to be very intentional about what you want the algorithm to show you so that you can then figure out, all right, I want to be like this person and that person and that person. I'm going to start creating content that's similar, but I'm going to make it my own style.
That makes perfect sense. So I have another question for you. So I think you touched on it a little bit briefly as well. So like I get realtors all the time that come to me and they're like, Sam, how do I go viral? And the first question I ask them, like, when was the last time you posted something? Yeah. Usually it's like 2 years ago. So like, to your point, what you said was you got to try out different things. You got to post different things, and you got to keep posting and trying out different contents that will move the needle for you. Yeah. And then you would know, okay, this is working for me. This isn't working for me. And I think that's a great point to that. So let's say I am, and I get this question a lot, and I have my own thoughts on it, but like, I'm a new agent. I was in car sales industry. I was in accounting industry, and now I've moved in. I'm into this new role as a new agent, and I'm scared of posting content on my social media because, well, obviously I've had other contacts that know me and see me in that other hat that I wear. What's your advice to them?
Well, say the question again. Say the question one more time.
I'm a new agent. I'm just starting up. I'm scared to post real estate content because all my past people know me as a different person.
It's more reason, actually. So it depends where you're at on your real estate journey or your professional journey. So for people like me, the reason why you're going to go to my pages and not see anything mortgage related is because I don't need to do that anymore. I'm well established, and so now it's just a matter of gaining their attention more often, right? If you're newer to the game, you probably want to have a slightly different strategy, which is a strategy around telling people what you do, because nothing's going to piss you off more than when you show up at Thanksgiving and somebody across the table said they're telling somebody else that they just bought a house. You're going to be like, what the hell? Like, and the only person you need to be mad at is yourself, because you didn't do a good job of marketing yourself or talking about it. Now, that's the only case where I tell people that you might want to lean a little bit more into real estate. But again, try to get creative in how you do it, whether it's using trending sounds, doing lip sync videos, doing that sort of thing. If you just are a talking head doing stats, you're not going to hack their algorithms. You're not going to show up in their feeds, and it's going to be useless. And so you have to figure out ways to make it relatable. That's the key. But I agree with you. As you're newer to the business, especially if you came from car sales, you came from another industry, which is a lot of people. you should be talking about it. But one of the things that we always recommend as well, no matter where you came from. So let's just say you came from tech. You should be creating content around tech. And the reason why is because you can speak that language. If you came from car sales, you should continue to speak to that audience because those people know you for that. And those people in those industries and those people that followed you previously are going to continue to follow you. They're probably going to get sucked in. And now you're going to win them over in another field. And you're going to be the authority because people who sell cars for a living, who choose a realtor would probably choose a realtor who has a similar background to them. So it's important for you to lean into that. If you came from tech, if you came from being a school teacher, you don't leave those roots gone forever because those people will feel more comfortable with you knowing that you have a similar background now.
Yeah, and to your point, I remember this realtor that came to us. She was 73. And she was like, I'm posting content on my Facebook. And who's going to watch it? 3 months later, she came to us. And there was a 90-year-old woman, her client, that saw her on Facebook and started becoming a client. So like, you never know. Like, it doesn't matter if you're too old, too young. None of that matters really. Like if you're posting and you have your own audience, the people that know you and follow you, I think there's a lot of value that comes from it. And there's a lot of things that come from it. So now let's touch into this. So imagine I'm shooting content for YouTube. And aside from the fact that I can get content and short content from it and post to other platforms, what are the things to keep in mind when I'm creating content for YouTube versus TikTok or Instagram Reels, like where your cap is like 60 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, well, so what we actually, and we do this is for clients is we actually will help them create. We use YouTube as the cornerstone or the keystone of their strategy. And so what we'll have them do is we'll just have them talk about a topic that is near and dear to them or something that they can easily just eloquently vomit for 10 minutes, right? And so we have them create that content for that, which is now can be edited and optimized for YouTube, and by the way, one of the things with video nowadays is constantly changing the image of what you're showing. So whether that's B-roll, whether if you're on a Zoom call or you're something like that, it's constantly doing a screen share. You need to change what the audience is seeing in your videos for them to stay with it. Because if it's just you talking consistently, they're gone probably in 60 seconds, as you mentioned. And so when it comes to YouTube content, first focus on long form. Then what we do is you can take that long form. You can do it. You can hire somebody to do it. And then of that 10-minute video, whatever the 7, 12, it doesn't matter how many minutes, you're going to find that you made some really eloquent statements and you have some clips that we can cut out of that. Usually 3 to 5 is what we find on average. And then we take those short forms, we cut them out, we edit them, we optimize them, we caption them, we do all the cool stuff, make them fun. So now they're TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. You can use them on LinkedIn if they're relevant. You can use them on Twitter because Twitter is going heavy video now. And so it's actually one of my favorite strategies, which is building it off long form and then just go talk to the camera. And then you're going to find that you're going to actually say some things that are very usable now to take out, cut it out, use it in short form. And now you took one long form video and you've got 5, 6, 7 pieces of content across different platforms.
That makes sense. And this is in fact what we are doing with our webinars as well. So if you notice, like this is a long webinar that we're posting, but on Instagram and in other social medias, we're going to do shorts. And these are like segments of what we're covering today. And it has helped us also grow our social media and create better impactful content. To your point about changing the background and changing the scenery, have you, like, I'm sure you've seen CoComelon, like the famous kids cartoon, like every kid is watching it. There's a study out there. Every 3 seconds, the background and the scene changes. Every 3 seconds. So if you want to really create that impactful content, you got to make it like CoComelon, like 3 seconds, like change it. But we can't. So like at least focus on like 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So, but don't just talk in a boring setting for like an hour and just like, Yeah, no one wants to watch that. We have enough.
And I can give you an example, Sam. So like you can use, so for example, my personal TikTok, I have multiple TikTok channels, but my personal TikTok shifted to be all very geographic driven. And so it's based around a geographic area. So now all I'm doing is creating content around that geographic area. But part of that strategy is to do like local highlight videos. And so what I'll do is I'll sit down with a business owner and do a 2 or 3 minute interview, right? But instead of just posting that interview as just us talking, I took a bunch of B-roll before the interview or after the interview intentionally so I can take during that interview, I do this myself. I use Viva Video, which is a mobile editing app, and I just do overlays and I'll take a snip, a 10-second. So I will talk for 10 or 15 seconds, drop, we're talking about something in the restaurant. I have some B-roll. I'll drop in that overlay for 10 or 15 seconds, then back to us. Then back to some more B-roll, then back to us, then back to some B-roll. And again, whether you do this and acquire these skills yourself or you hire somebody to do it, which is, there's tons of opportunity to do that. That is, I mean, you're right. Cocomelon is that's over the top. 3 seconds is a lot. But there's a reason why people like Sam know this and study this, because it's relevant and because it matters and because they know, because they're obviously, pushing out a show that is just an addiction for small children.
Yeah, that's right on. So, okay, so as we head into a slower market in the next 6 months, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you would give to agents? And we're going to wrap up this webinar with that. But like, what are 3 things or 4 things that you can tell them and say, hey, these are the things that I want you to do and like, kind of keep in mind over the holidays or the next kind of 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I mean, number 1 is just shift the way you're thinking about social media. Shift your mindset in that social media is not only that important piece of your business, prospecting part of your business. It's only going to continue to become an integrated daily aspect of all of our lives. And so you now have an opportunity to market exponentially to an exponential reach, organically and free if you do it yourself. And so think about that opportunity, because the incoming generations of homeowners, which is millennials and Gen Z, and millennials are into their 40s now, you're talking about an opportunity to hack into that entire genre of human and win so much business just by embracing social media and using it as a vehicle to share your life. Just document, become a reality TV show within your social. The second piece of that means you've got to embrace video. You all know it. It's overtaking. TikTok has changed the way we market. Every platform is shifting to all video. And so, as I said earlier, Sam, even as someone who has teams of videographers and video editors, I still do a lot of my own stuff because I don't have a videographer with me 24/7. And so I have to be on the ready with this guy. And, I go to a concert, I don't have a videographer with me, but I'm going to share that experience with my audience because I have some basic editing skills. So that would be number 2, is just embracing that and acquiring that skill. And then the last thing is be more on the ready for when the next thing is coming. It is evolving so fast. And when I stop and I tell you, just as you're listening to this, just think back 5 years ago, just 5 years ago. And the social landscape, the marketing landscape was so different. 10 years ago, it was night and day. And so things are happening so damn fast now. What we're realizing is the people that embraced TikTok, for example, the earliest, are reaping the massive rewards from doing so. And so have yourself on alert for what's coming. And the next time the next TikTok comes out, stop making excuses for why you're not going to get into it, because 2 years later you did. And you're like, damn, I wish I would have done it sooner. So be on the ready to embrace social as it continues to evolve, and be a consumer of this stuff. This is important. Pay attention to the newest feature on Instagram. Pay attention to what Facebook is doing with Meta. Pay attention to what TikTok is doing, because all of this matters. And it is going to be a make or break for many of our businesses going into the next 5 to 10 years, whether or not you do this stuff or don't.
Yeah, and I love this because like I remember 5 years ago, agents were like, "Oh, I hate that agent on social media. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're doing." But now they're losing a lot of business to those that started early on that have built this authority, brand authority in the local market. And I think that's what you're saying exactly as well. And I've seen this on and on. Agents who spend thousands of dollars on a website that no one goes to.
Yeah.
But they spend $0 appearing in front of people on their daily scroll, on their day. Like when you said it, like whether they're lying in bed, sitting on the toilet, whatever it is that they're doing, you gotta appear there and you gotta show yourself there. No one is gonna type sammerbo.com to get to my website. No one cares about me. Like, why would they care? Like you think Zillow is broken? Like, why would they go to my website to search? So, but they do spend time on social, and the chances are if they connect with me, they will call me to basically sell their home and buy their home and things like that. Absolutely. So I think that's the biggest thing in there. All right, so we're coming to this to the end of this webinar, and thank you everyone for tuning in. So if there's anything else that you want to share with our audience, Jeff, we would love that. And if not, we'll just wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out. You can. I'm easily findable. So just my name is Jeff Pfitzer, and last name is spelled P as in Paul, F as in Frank, Itzer. That is my name across every social platform. I'm easy to find. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions.
And that's a lesson there. Like agents, if I cannot find you, I'm not gonna follow you. So that's the last lesson that's in there. That's just like make it easy for people to find you. Stop calling yourself like weird names on social media. So that's the last lesson from Jeff. So all his credentials, everything will be down in this video. You can just go there, follow Jeff across different channels. And remember, social media is not just one channel. You got to be present across a lot of channels. We call this omnipresence, and you got to be there to be able to connect with different audiences at different stages. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.